Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. I'm going to avoid the temptation to rap and invite you instead to reach into your programs and pull out this morning's message outline. And while you're getting that out, there's a couple things I want to let you know. Number one, dads, happy Father's Day. I hope it's a great one. The second is we have... This is the week we are beginning. Actually, we're wrapping up one series this week, and next week we are beginning a brand new series that you actually voted for when we did that survey. Okay, and if you go to the back of your outline, it'll give you our summer series, and it's a mark it up expository survey. It's called Major Lessons from Minor Prophets. Now, these prophets are minor, not because they're less important, but because they are shorter. Okay, so somebody asked me, oh, does that mean the messages are going to get shorter? Not a chance. And here's what I want to say. If you're going, hey, why are we doing this series? I put in this yellow box what you will learn, okay? You will learn the 12 books of the Bible most people have actually never even read. For example, if you read Obadiah this week, would you raise your hand? Okay? If you read Micah this week, would you raise your hand? If you have a kid named Zephaniah, would you raise your hand? It's probably a good thing, okay? In 12 weeks, you will have a really good grasp on 12 books in the Bible. Most Christians never even read, and most of them don't even know they go there, okay? And so now down below, if you're going, why else are we doing this thing? Because you will learn, and just look at the words on the right-hand side, okay? You will learn convictions and identity, direction for your life, and impact. And we also, a lot of these prophets talk about making sure your ship doesn't sink because of bad behavior, okay? And go to the bottom. Would you agree with this? It is possible to be a believer in Jesus Christ and make terrible decisions. Would you agree? It's possible to be a believer in Jesus Christ and treat people really badly. Okay? It is also possible to be a believer in Jesus Christ and have that faith never actually hit my life. So I am very fired up about this. Next week, we are going to do week one. We're going to walk you through 12 books in the Bible that have a lot to do with foundations and character and integrity, and it's never too late. Okay? It's those kind of themes sweep through it. We are also going to hole punch these for 12 weeks, get notebooks, which you can get after the service, and you'll be able to keep this as a series of books most Christians don't even know is in the Bible. Okay, got that? Okay, second thing I want to say is this. About my daughter's just graduated from Azusa Pacific University, and thank you. Would the ushers please come forward? And about a month and a half ago, my daughters called Carol, and they said, we've been in LA for 4 years, and we've never taken you to the taping of a show. Why don't you come down and let's dress as weird as we can, and let's try to get on Let's Make a Deal. So they call me and I go, Carol Holt, our children's director, goes down, my wife and my two daughters, and they go to Let's Make a Deal, where they go, let's dress as weird and embarrassingly as we can, and let's see if we can get on this show. And so what happens is they actually get on the show. She's the first person picked. And he starts asking her all these, this or this. So she takes every option, and then it gets to this option. Check this out.
Behind curtain number 1 is a car.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. No ifs, ands, or buts. I promise you there's a car there. Is it a real car? I can't tell you.
This is really stressful. I'm going to take the curtain. Okay, I believe.
It's a new Honda Fit.
Can you believe that? And So what happens is this. She comes back at the same time, okay? She gets back, and what I've been dealing with while they were down there is this. We do a teenage student discipleship leadership program there every summer, okay? Where we actually put teenagers on our staff. They come to our staff meetings, and they work full time. We break every child labor law. We actually say it's like this. It's like football hell week plus church camp plus you just went to the Marine Corps boot camp for teenagers. And our staff came in about the same time she got back and said, hey, look, we've got 120 kids. They're all spiritually, they're killing it. They got great stuff going on in their lives. And the problem is this, we have 120 of them, and they all did the application process. And we want to say yes to these 120. The problem is we only have money for about 80. What do you want me to do? Should we tell 40 of those kids no? Yeah, that's mom going. I said, no, let's take them all. And they went, we don't have the money. And I said, well, the Lord will provide the money. Carol gets home and she just won a car. You hate it when God wires life up. She comes home and what happens is this. We have a conversation for a couple weeks. And so what happened, and the car you walked by, we upgraded it to a Honda Accord LX. And Carol gave that car to the church to raise money so we could say yes to all these teenagers instead of saying no. And so, wait, don't applaud because I'd rather have you spend money. Here's the deal, okay? That car is outside. We printed 350 tickets. They're $100 each. If you buy one, you can buy a bunch of those tickets if you want. We've had a lot of people go with the one. And you can end up, and as soon as all 350 are filled out, we are going to pull one of those tickets out, and whoever is the winning ticket gets the car. Okay? That'll raise $35,000 for these teenagers, and we're not taking a dime of this, and neither's our church. It all goes into teenage ministry, and it'll also be, if so, it may be you. It may be God wanted me to buy a new car, and I did this, and it happened, okay? And so that's kind of a neat thing. And by the way, the only reason I can show you that video and tell the story is my wife is out of town this weekend. Happy Father's Day, okay? Now, would you grab your message notes out and just look up here for a second, okay? A few years ago, I was a senior pastor, okay? And I actually quit being a senior pastor because I liked teenagers better, okay? So I resigned being a senior pastor, and I got a promotion to being a youth pastor. And so we took these teenagers on all of these different adventures, okay? And one year, we go up to this lake. This lake's called Lake Almanor, and we do a high school retreat at the end of summer to get them ready for all the pressures of the fall. What happens is this. We get these teenagers, and most teenagers think they're too cool for God, life, their parents, and everybody else, okay? And I actually think most high school students, it's kind of a sad thing. If you're a high school kid and you're in there, we got a ton of them, okay? Most high school kids spend 4 years scared stiff that somebody's going to look at them and say the word uncool. It's like the high school kid that graduated and said to me, that was a waste of 4 years. I said, why? He said, I spent 4 years of my life worrying about what everybody was thinking about me, and then I just graduated and I realized nobody was thinking about me. And so the last night of this camp, all the teenagers are in bed, and about 1 a.m, our staff got up and we got every loud thing we could, pots, pans, a running chainsaw. And we burst into these cabins and we go, you kids are so boring. What are you doing? It's the last night of camp. Get a life. Get up, get your swimsuit on. We're going to a night hike to a different lake. Well, they all get up and we go to a night hike to a lake. I'm not making this up. The name of the lake is Butt Lake, okay? So we go on this night hike to Butt Lake, and what had happened is this. Years before, it's a beautiful lake, kind of a small lake, and there's a 30-foot cliff right at the edge of this lake, and years before, there were these 2 huge pine trees, okay? And loggers had strung a steel cable hooking these pine trees together and put a rope swing down. And we'd been up there to test it. You just back up the hill, you swing 30 feet out over the lake, and you just let go. And so we told these teenagers, we are all doing this tonight. And we'll tell you why at the end. So what we did is, it was a blast, man. We got these scared, stiff teenagers, and we actually back them all the way up this hill, so they're about 40, 50 feet now, and it was awesome. They're all scared, they're holding on, and we're going, don't forget to let go. And we let them go. They swing out over the lake. It was pitch black, and it was so cool, because all you'd hear is, splash. We made every teenager do that. It's why I'm no longer at that church. And after the last kid, they found out why. We made a campfire, we gathered them all around the campfire, and we had a conversation, and we just asked one question. If you are going to walk effectively with God this year, if you are going to resist peer pressure, if you're going to be everything God wants you to be, what this year do you have to let go of? Because would you agree, there are some things that if you are not letting go of, you can't follow God effectively. And so, now, what's interesting is this. I want to give you the verse in the Bible that shocked me most, okay? One of the great chapters of the Bible is Hebrews chapter 11, which is God's Hall of Fame, okay? And in that chapter, it lists all of the men and women of God, how amazing they were. Now, watch this. Hebrews chapter 11 is followed by Hebrews chapter... Very bright crowd. And chapter 12, verse 1 is the application verse to Hebrews chapter 11. And the first time I read it, I was shocked. Check it out. It says this, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, that is all the people in Hebrews chapter 11. And here's what I thought it was going to say. He goes, since we're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, let us. And then I thought it was going to say, let us pray. Let us read the Bible. Let us dedicate our lives. Let us serve. Let us not dance if you're a Baptist. I thought I was going to say all this stuff. It said none of that. It shocked me with this. Let us, here it is, throw off the sin that so easily entangles and let us run with perseverance the race marked out before us. That was, evidently, God says the first thing you have to do if you're going to walk with Him effectively, the first thing you're going to have to do if you build a God-honoring life, the first thing it's going to take is if you want to walk effectively with God is, I got to let go of stuff that's going to mess that up. Does that make sense? Okay? And so what I want to do is this. I actually not going to preach this. I'm going to give you a study guide so that you can study this for yourself this week. And what I want you, how many of you are going, happiness is a full outline? Where you go, a blanks in. So I'm going to give you the blanks so you can study it this week. Number one is this. If I'm going to walk effectively with God, number one, I've got to let go of bitterness, which is cancer of the spirit. I've got to let go of bitterness. Matter of fact, Hebrews, the next chapter says, bitterness springs up, causes trouble, and many are defiled. Why do you have to let go of this thing? Number one, because resentment poisons you. Resentment will poison you. There's an old radio program, Amos and Andy, and one time Amos was tired. This guy kept coming up, slapping him in the chest, hitting him in the chest. And he got a little tired of that, and he said to his buddy Andy, he goes, hey, you know what? I finally figured out how to get this guy back. He goes, well, how are you going to do that? He goes, I'm going to strap dynamite to my chest. The next time that guy hits me or slaps my chest, it's going to blow his hand off. Some of you will get that later. You go, how dumb is that? That is how illogical bitterness and resentment is, because bitterness is emotional suicide. It's emotional suicide. Second, resentment poisons other people. It says it springs up, causes trouble, and by it many be defiled. Number three, resentment poisons you, it poisons other people. And the Bible says this, resentment also poisons your future. It will wreck your future, okay? And you'll end up dying with a bitter heart. How big a deal is this one? People, this is a big deal because would you agree? The minute bitterness and resentment enter my life, hope exits. Okay? And you can study Joseph. Genesis all the way, chapter 39, all the way into the book, is a whole story about a guy who, because he resisted bitterness and resentment, saved an entire nation. Okay? Number two, second thing to let go of, worry and anxiety. Let go of worry and let go of anxiety. Is anybody here good at worry? Is anybody here like Olympic-sized, world-class good at worry? Okay? I want to give you 3 quotes, and you can study it this week. Corrie ten Boom said this: worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows, it empties today of its strength. Okay? George Mueller said this: the beginning of anxiety is the end of faith. The beginning of true faith is the end of anxiety. I love this. The Apostle Paul said this: don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with what? Thanksgiving. He says, present your request to God. And he says, and if you will do that, here's the direct result. The peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and guard your minds in Christ Jesus. I have got to let go of worry. One of my favorite quotes is from a guy named Warren Wiersbe. He said this: most Christians are being crucified on 2 crosses: yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's worries. Let go of worry and anxiety, because the minute they enter your life, hope exits, joy exits. By the way, raise your hand if you've ever met an older adult who's cool. Okay? Raise your hand if you've ever met anybody of any age that was an uptight jerk. Okay? Raise your hand if you're sitting next to that. No, don't do that. You know what's interesting about that? When somebody goes, why did people go from being really fun when they were young to an angry, cranky, uptight, judgmental jerk of an adult that nobody wants to be around? You know how they did? They worried their way there. Okay? Anxious people become miserable people, which become people you just don't want to be in the room with. Number 3, learn to let go of past guilt. 3 and 4 to go together, so I'm not going to be here. Number 3, learn to let go of past guilt. David's Psalm 32 and 51 are the most freeing songs. It's his song of confession. And next chapter, learn to let go of past failures. Learn to let go of past failures. Why is that a big deal? Nobody goes forward well when you are looking back. Okay, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. Some of you may have heard this before. I went water skiing. As part of what I did as youth ministry, I went water skiing. And one day we had these 3 straight water ski retreats coming up. So myself and my buddies went up there a day early to ski the lake to make sure, the boats worked and the water was wet. So, and it got real choppy, like real choppy in the morning, okay? And it got choppy, and so, we put on 2 skis and we invented a game called Suicide. Okay? We shortened the rope to about 15 feet behind the boat, and this boat was a ski nautique, kind of like a jet on water. You would get going as fast as you could, and this boat just takes off. And when you're ready, you did this and grab back onto the rope. They would stop a stopwatch, and you would see how long can you stay upright without falling over. Whoever stayed upright won, okay? It's a dumb game. It's why we called it Suicide. And one time, I'm behind this boat, and I am going as fast as I've ever gone on water, on 2 skis, and you're just hitting this water over this kind of stuff. And this guy banks left, and these guys are nuts. They'll go up on dry land if they have to make you fall. Okay? So this guy, he banks left, and I go whipping out to the side, and now I'm actually going fast because I got slung to the side. And about 10 feet in front of me, I see it, a duck. And I ski right at this duck. Okay? And now and I'm actually going to try to run over the duck. Now, before you animal rights people get all over me, you can't hit a duck on water. You get about 10 feet away and they go underwater. It's why they're called ducks. So I get about 10 feet away from this duck, and this duck isn't moving. I get like 5 feet away and I am barreling. I get 5 feet away and I'm thinking, duck, nothing. I get like 2 feet away, I'm thinking why doesn't this dumb duck? And evidently, it's a mom duck. Oh, don't do that to me. Because right behind it are like 3 2-inch-high baby ducklings. And I go whipping by. And you know how thoughts can go through your head really fast, except during math classes in church? As I go ripping by, all these thoughts I thought, what an awesome mom duck. She's like, babe, mess with my family, I'll take you out. I thought, what an awesome. And then I thought, isn't that like God? He shelters us under his wings. He's never leaves. And then I thought, the guys in the boat got to see this. So I yell these guys in the boat, and I'm pointing back. And I am so disoriented because I'm looking back at these ducks. I forget what I'm doing, which is I am going about 40 miles an hour forward in choppy water with insane people trying to kill me, and I'm looking. I never saw it coming. The wake. Both skis went underwater. Would they come to an immediate stop? I am so disoriented because I'm looking back, I forget to let go of the rope. I slam into the water. I am being pulled underwater. Trunks, gone. Okay? Not a pretty sight. I finally let go of this rope. I am figuring, do I have any broken ribs? I get these trumpets back up. I float to the surface of these guys pull up next to me. They are laughing in the boat. They are falling over the side. This is what they are laughing so hard. Ladies and gentlemen, I learned a very important lesson, and here it is. Nobody goes forward well if you are looking back. And some of you, God brought you here today to tell you this. God has forgiven your past, and He has forgotten your past. Isn't it about time you did the same thing? Okay? If God has forgiven you, you're forgiven. The past is past. Stop, let it change. Let it go. Next thing to let go of is this. Let go of unhealthy relationships. Let go of unhealthy relationships, okay? And read about Joseph in Genesis 39. He gets out of a situation. You're going to hear some great stuff about that in a minute, okay? Next one is this. Learn to let go of doubt. Learn to let go of doubt. Anyone who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by. Most of you know I was raised in an executive jet set, totally pagan family in Southern California. My dad was an atheist. My mom was an atheist. My dad was president of his company, and he was like, there is no God. And I talked a guy out of becoming a Christian when I was 18 years old. This does not look good on the pastor's resume, okay? And what happens is it took me 6 months of study to cross the line. And at one point I woke up and I went, oh, this is a bad thing. I believe 51% and my doubts are only 49%. Okay? And you know what's interesting? Every single person in the Bible I can find doubted at some point in time. Okay? And sometimes it's doubting God. It's doubting the Bible. Sometimes, like with Abraham and Sarah, here's their doubt. They thought they were too old for God to use. But you feel like that? You're never too old for God to use. Check the next one out. Moses had a doubt problem. He doubted that he had enough skills to obey the call of God for his life. He's like, I can't speak. God goes, hey, go talk to the king. And every one of these people had doubt they had to let go. Okay? Now, go to the next page. When I wrote the book Hope Quotient, it took 7 years. We came up with these 7 factors that if you don't build them into their life, you're going to be in real trouble, and so is your family. These are the 7 things Carol and I tried to build into our kids, you as our church, our own lives, our own marriage. And what was fascinating about this is this. When I developed the online test that comes with the book, how many of you have taken that HQ test? Awesome, okay? You know what's interesting? That we beta tested that with 1,000 people from every state. And what we discovered was this. The closest connection between any one of these 7 and direct, fast hope is play great defense. Evidently, there are things that if they let them into your life are so toxic, that literally wipes out hope. And so what I did was I spent about 7 years working with leaders, studying the Bible, and I came up with 4 life principles, okay? And here they are. Number 1 is this. Never make decisions when you are down. Never make decisions when you're down. And you know what the problem with that is? What happens the minute you get down? Are you wired like me? I start making some rash, unhealthy decisions. That's it. I quit this. If I made decisions when I was down, I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't be here. Never make decisions when you're down. Number 2, respond to bad news in great ways. Sometimes people are going, oh man, my marriage is rocky. Great, respond in great ways. My finances, whatever it is. The key to life, I actually believe this, the key to life, the key to the future is to respond to bad news in great ways. Where do you find that in the Bible? The first chapter of everything. Moses responds to bad news in great ways, saves us. Joshua chapter 1, bad news, he responds in great ways and delivers a nation to their future. Nehemiah chapter 1, bad news, responds in great ways and saves an entire city. I actually believe this. If you will respond to bad news in great ways, you will have a future. So will your family, so will your finances, so will your faith. I actually believe our country will never have a great future if people respond to bad news in bad ways. Does that make sense? The third one is this. Honor God and live with integrity. Honor God and live with integrity. And there is a brand new book that just came out. I'm going to put the cover up here. It's called The Making of a Man by Tim Brown. And I love the subtitle, How Men and Boys Honor God and Live with Integrity. And for those of you that have been living in a cave and don't know who Tim is, Let me give you some interesting information, okay? Tim won the Heisman Trophy Award when he was playing at Notre Dame. As a rookie, then he goes to the NFL, plays for the Raiders. As a rookie, he led the NFL in kickoff returns, return yards, yards per average. He then I got tired of writing. He set the Raiders franchise records for pretty much everything. The NFL all-time ranks in receiving yards, all this kind of stuff. And at the time of his retirement, he had 14,934 receiving yards, second highest total in NFL history. But the thing I was most impressed by was this, because this is respect from your peers and your adversaries. He was voted to the Pro Bowl, their all-star. He was voted the Pro Bowl 9 times. And he's even a better guy than his football statistics. Would you welcome here for the very first time, Tim Brown from the Oakland Raiders.
Pastor, how are you? Thank you. Appreciate you. Raider Nation in the house today.
No kidding. Hey, so first of all, is anybody here Raider fans? We got a few minutes. You meet some interesting Raider fans. Tell them the story. By the way, this book is honest, man. I'm reading this, I got to ask about this.
Well, yesterday there was a young lady here who had my name tattooed on her arm. A young lady. And Jason was like, is that real? I was like, this is Raider Nation, baby. They real. I mean, that's how they travel. So, no, years ago, it was in the late 90s, I was in Pomona at an autograph session, and there was a young kid. I mean, I was 28, 29 at the time, and he looked like he was younger than me, and he kept pacing back and forth. The closer he got to me, the more emotional he got. And finally, by the time he got to me, he was full out in tears. And he was like, Tim Brown, I love you, man. I was like, hey, I appreciate the love, brother. He's like, no, I really love you. He lifted up his shirt, and he had a tattoo of me around his body. Catching it a little sweet, though, because I was laid out like this. But I was like, dude, 20 years from now, that's not going to look too good. The hands are going to be all sagging or something. So.
Yeah, by the way, you're right about that tattoo, because that was John Valinsky. He's on our staff. I say it's not a pretty sight. So you're playing at Notre Dame, and you win the big award of the year, the Heisman Trophy. Best college football player, which blew everybody's mind, maybe except your mom.
Yeah, so the next year I go to the NFL, and I make the Pro Bowl. And I come home, and there's a sign outside the house. Welcome home, Heisman Trophy winner, Pro Bowler Tim Brown. So I'm getting out the car, sticking my chest out a little bit. So Mom is right there. She greets me at the door and on the porch, and she says, "Hey, love you so much. We're so proud of you." I said, "Thanks, Mom." And she said, "Did you see the sign?" I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "Well, you know why it's out here?" And I said, no, because she said, all of this is going to stay outside of my house. And when you come inside my house, you're not going to be this guy. You're going to be Timmy. So,
do the dishes.
So I went from this to, yes, ma'am. And
that's right.
That's who I've been ever since.
Family's a big deal to you. Matter of fact, you're here. You've been married for 17 years, correct?
Yeah, it'll be 17 years next week. My lovely wife, Sharice, is here. She's not feeling the best, but y'all pray for her. She's hanging in there with me today.
Awesome. Okay. Let me. Now, your dad, your mom was amazing. Your dad was a force of nature in his own way.
Yeah. My dad and I had a great relationship up until I was 13. And when I was 13, he came into the house a little intoxicated late one night, and he went to turn the TV off, and when he turned it off, I was still up. I said, "Hey, Pop, I'm watching that." And in his intoxicated mind, he thought that I was coming after him. And he said, "You coming after me? I'm gonna kill you." It's like,
And he had the means to kill you.
Yeah, because that nightclub that he owned, every night he would bring home the change, and there was a big old bucket of change, but on the side of the bucket, he had 2 guns. And we knew that because, as young kids, me and my sister, when we needed some extra change, we would go and get change out the trunk. So, this night, he threatened to kill me, and it was a remarkably bad night for me. And while I am in the corner, literally scared to death, one of the things I say to myself is, hey, look, if alcohol would make you want to kill your son, I'm never going to drink alcohol. I've never had to drink a beer, never had a glass of wine, anything, because to me, if it's that bad that it'll make you want to do that to your son, it's something I should stay away from. And even when I got older and realized, what this was all about, it was still tough for me to get involved with that, and I'd never have because of that reason. But it took 12 years for me and my dad to reconcile. During that time, I'm getting scholarships. I'm vice president of senior class at high school. I'm graduating Notre Dame, Heisman Trophy, first round pick, Pro Bowls. All these things I'm doing in hopes that it would grab the attention, the affection of my father. And it took me going to him and saying to him, look, man, what happened 12 years ago, I forgive you for. I need for you to forgive me, but I need to have you in my life. I need a father. And so for the next 20 years of his life, he passed away in 2011. We had a great relationship, but that forgiveness thing is big, and it was huge for me and my father.
No kidding. And now what's interesting is I read about 30 pages of a lot of books. How many of you know what I'm talking about? I read this entire thing. Part of it was I couldn't put it down because I loved all the football stuff, the coach stuff. I loved what you said about Gruden, another force of nature,
yes.
All that stuff. Not only was chapter 10 my favorite chapter, I told my family, I said, I want everybody to read this book. Chapter 10, A Man Overcomes Temptation, is the single best chapter I have ever read on winning battles of temptation you cannot afford to lose. And I don't say that lightly because I read a lot of stuff. And but what happened here, I'm reading this, I'm going, this is like real. I mean, you didn't leave anything. I was actually surprised. You probably had to get clearance. Put
a lot of clearance.
Stuff in there. Okay?
Wife, you mind if I tell this story?
No kidding. Amazing. And so it was I went, this was the real world, okay? And what happened is this. In here you write, man, basically take a guy who's just turned 22, crazy about girls, give him a lot of money, surround him with celebrities and NFL teammates, drop him into the middle of the LA party scene and the NFL culture. It's a perfect storm. And that sucked you in for a while.
Yeah, it did. It was tough, man. You got to LA, and one thing I realized when I got to LA is I got better looking because I had money in my pocket. So I was shocked by that. I thought it was me, something that happened with me, but I realized it was the money that the girls were attracted to. But so it became a difficult process. Things were coming too easy. You didn't have to work for certain things. So from that sense, you get to thinking, hey, well, maybe this is okay. Well, being born and raised in church like I was, I knew that what I was doing was wrong. So it made it even increasingly more difficult for me to continue in the lifestyle that I was living. And it got to a point with me where literally I could not look at myself in the mirror, where I had to, whatever I had to do in the morning, brush my teeth, wash my face, comb my hair. Thankfully, I didn't have a lot of hair, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But I had to do it in the dark because I could not look in the mirror and look at the guy I was looking at and say, hey, you've been the man that God called you to be.
That's right. You tell a story in here about God had a giant-sized wake-up call for you with a lesson built into it. That happens to a lot of us, but usually doesn't happen at the beach.
Yeah, I was 18 years old, and we went to Notre Dame. Notre Dame had gone to the Aloha Bowl. And I like to tell people, I'm a little bit of an anomaly. I'm a brother who can swim, so the water don't scare me that much. So we get off the bus, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm from Texas, so we got dirty lakes, but we don't have oceans, So I get off, run in the room, change, man, get me a boogie board, and I'm heading out to the water. And all my boys are behind me on the beach. Timmy, T, come back, man, come back. I said, man, these brothers scared of the water. I'm not going to deal with them. I'm going to go out here and have some fun. Well, when I turned around, my boys looked like they were about that big. And I had gotten way out in the water. And, I did the manly thing at that time. I started crying because now I'm thinking, I'm not going to make it back. Going out, it was all fun. Now coming back, the waves are hitting me. Now I'm thinking about Jaws and, my ankle's about to I'm never going to be able to play football again, the whole deal. And, obviously I made it back, but the last 10 or 15 yards, the boys literally had to drag me out the water. And while I was laying on that beach, what was dropped into my spirit was, just like you almost got too far out in the water naturally so, spiritually, you can get so far out there that you can't get back also.
Hold on. I'll make sure you get this. This was, I underlined this, started this one line in the book. Say that again.
Yeah, naturally, just like I almost got too far out in the water, spiritually, you can get so far out there that you can't get back also. And I had no idea what God had in store for me at that particular time. I'm 18 years old. I don't know about the Heisman Trophy. I don't know about the NFL life. But I always remember that incident on the beach because when I got 22 and I'm hanging out with Eddie Murphy and Janet Jackson and all these folks and all the things that I have access to, I realized certain things I could not get involved in. Magic Johnston was one of the guys I hung out with. Yep. And there were times when I had invites to go certain places that I chose not to because I always remembered that I can't get too far out there that, maybe I can't get back.
And you also detail this in the chapter on temptation. You finally go, all right, God, I'm all yours, and I'm going to play great defense in this area of women.
Right.
That got tested on a plane ride.
Big time. Well, I had flown down, actually, she was my fiance, my wife was my fiance at the time, to her Christmas party, a dinner. And on the way back, I'm all, duded up. I got my suit on, my tie. I'm looking pretty good, I thought. But, I'm not trying to attract anybody. But, there's this young lady, and she was a Hispanic woman. Now, I have this, thing for Hispanic women. So I tell my wife, she's African American, but I married her because she looked Hispanic. So that's why. But
by the way, you would get along great with my wife because my wife spends a lot of her time when I'm speaking going, I cannot believe you said.
So, this young lady, she is just, it's a 45-minute flight. So I got a newspaper. I got it on my head. I'm thinking, we're going to be okay here, Tim. Just keep the paper up.
Just playing good defense.
Yeah, playing good defense, brother. And sure enough, she's going by, flying by. I can just feel her just running by. And that was the time when Southwest had the planes where the seats where you can sit in front facing each other. So sure enough, I feel somebody pulling the paper down. And she says to me, I can meet you wherever you want me to meet you in 45 minutes. And now this is when I know I was really saved because what came out of my mouth and what I was thinking was something totally different. But I said to her, I said, we're not going to do this. And there's no doubt that if I hadn't met somebody 6 months ago, there's no doubt what would be happening in 45 minutes once we get off this plane. But because I met somebody 6 months ago, that's not going to happen. And she said, oh, you have a girlfriend? I said, yeah. Matter of fact, I have a fiance, but that's not who I'm talking about. I met Jesus Christ 6 months ago. And,
very cool.
And, I tell people all the time, if you mention Jesus Christ to a woman, and you flash your ring, you just have to know you're talking to the devil. You know what I mean? The devil comes in all kinds of packages. So
yeah, no kidding. No kidding. We're running out of time here. I got a question. When I read this, I went. What I liked most about it was so honest and calling people to God. There's a lot, by the way, there's a lot of sort of tell-all books out there that are real honest. They're just not very God-honoring. There's a lot of God-honoring books out there that aren't very honest and real. Would you agree? I went, this thing, you didn't pull any punches on this.
No. We had to change a couple of names, protect
change the name, protect the
the innocent or the guilty.
and in here, so I went, this had to be hard to write. And I went, every time you came in the fork of the road, you want to tell the truth or not? You went, you took, just tell these folks, why did you write this?
Well, towards the end of my career, a lot of folks were coming up to me, basically, said they admired the way I handled myself off the field. And certainly I've gotten a lot of that in retirement. And my little joke is, I don't want people to think that I was plucked down from Pluto someplace. I'm not some extraterrestrial being. Simply, in my late 20s, I decided as best I could, I was going to live by the principles of the Bible and God's principles. And I felt as if it worked for me, then maybe there's a young man out there at work for. Maybe there's an old man out there that needs to hear this. Maybe there's somebody out there that can look at this and go, wow, you know, my struggle isn't women. My struggle is alcohol, or my struggle is drugs, or whatever. You know, because we all have something we have to give up or let go of, like you were saying a few seconds ago. But maybe if you look at these principles, these are not Tim's principles. We are applying some things that happened in my life to God's principles in the Bible. So I just felt as if that maybe it could help some man out there.
Yep, absolutely. And what's interesting is I'm going to add one question. I was reading this yesterday in Southern California. We took my daughter down to drop her off, and I'm around a hotel pool, and a lady 2 chairs down looks over, sees it, comes over and says, "Is that Tim Brown? Does he have a book?" And I said, "Yep." She said, "Is that the Tim Brown?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then we had a little bit of a conversation. She goes, "He's in the Hall of Fame, right?" And I said, "Well, he had a Hall of Fame career, and sometimes that just takes time." You have an interesting perspective on Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah, you know, when I was 33, people were starting to say, you know, your numbers are Hall of Fame-like, you know, and
which no doubt about that, by the way.
You know, and certainly, you know, look up the computer, look up stats, like, wow, you know, my numbers are. So I was starting to get into it. But in prayer one night, what was dropped into my spirit and was so clear to me was that I don't have you here just so you can make the Hall of Fame. I have you here so you can reach back and grab young men or grab men and hopefully direct them into the kingdom. So now I have to admit, you know, being a football player, you know, all the sweat, the concussions, and all the things that you have to deal with, I got up off my knees going, no, I want to be in the Hall of Fame, you know. But I realized the importance, the platform that God has given me, all those things that you read off, no one can ever take those away from me. And if those numbers and things get me in a situation like this, where maybe there's one person out there that will hear my story and say, hey, I'm going to find out what this God thing is about. You know, if Tim is doing it, you know, he was a football player, he dealt with this situation. Maybe what I'm dealing with is not so bad, and maybe God can deliver me from that too.
It's awesome. That's a great perspective. I also look forward to seeing the Hall of Fame ceremony. There's a chapter in here that was my wife's favorite chapter. A man romances a woman's heart. Let me give you a quote from this chapter. Ladies, you're going to love this. A true man does not need to romance a different girl every night. A true man romances the same girl for the rest of her life. That's
Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies.
And Tim, on behalf of everybody here, I want to thank you for going after, pursuing, living a God-honoring life in situations where that's never easy. I really, on Father's Day, want to thank you for loving your family, your wife and your kids. That shows. They're the real deal, people. We get a lot of folks in here, and our staff comes back, and they came back this morning and went, they're incredible. And the third thing I want to thank you is having the guts to write a real book on integrity. And so on behalf of everybody here, thank you. You represent God and your family for a great honor.
Appreciate
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Brown.
Thank you, sir. All right. Happy Father's Day.